Hey BookTube, this is my 7 in 7 Readathon Wrap-Up.
I got my ticket for the long way round. 2 bottle whiskey fall away.
I have to tell you, I was really pleased with my progress and my results of the 7 in 7 Readathon. This Readathon was sponsored by a couple of people. Read Susie Read was one, Instead of Gold was another, and we were supposed to read 7 books in 7 days. They didn't have to be books. They could have been plays or poems or short stories or any number of things. I didn't get to all the books on my list for the readathon, but I did really well, I thought. I mean, to get through this many books in the course of 7 days, I think is pretty amazing. And for me, I thought it was more amazing because I had family come in. I had all 5 of my girls here at the same time, which never happens. They came from opposite ends of the continent. I find that kind of amazing. And, you know, we were all together for the whole week doing family things, vacation things, and oh my gosh, you know, all kinds of things going on. It was great to have them here, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that I got any reading done at all was pretty amazing. So let me tell you what I read. I read 6 books, and then I also finished a book on audio that I had been listening to. And that book was The Uninvited. It's by Sophie Jordan, and it was narrated on audio by Rebecca Gibble. I really liked Rebecca Gibble's narration. The Uninvited is a dystopian, and I don't know why, for some reason I was thinking it was a murder mystery or something else, which was completely, I don't know where I got that idea, but it was a good dystopian. It was all about a United States in which one of the leading scientists, who's kind of in cahoots with the government, finds this gene that gives you the predisposition for homicide. Murderers are always found to contain this gene, but people with the gene are not always murderers. So this scientist convinces the government to test everyone for this gene. And honestly, it's a pretty fair indication of what we have, as Americans, have done in the past when we perceive a threat to, you know, the general public. And bad things happen. Overall, I gave the book 4 stars, and if you like a good dystopian, I think this is a good one to try. I wouldn't say this is the best one I've ever read, but it certainly wasn't the worst, and it was above average as dystopians go. The next book I read it in print, and it was Are We There Yet by David Levithan. This book was, I mean, I had to stop at times and just marvel at the way that he would phrase things. And you know, a really good writer or poet or lyricist is able to take what you're thinking and pull it out of you and put it into words in such a magical way that you go, that's exactly what I was thinking. David Levithan is a master at this. He is a master. I'm so in love with this book. I think it's going to be one that I reread and reread and reread because it's just so wonderful. It's the story of 2 brothers who don't get along, and their parents fool them into thinking that they are saving their parents a lot of money by taking their place on an Italian vacation, when in reality the parents planned it all along for the 2 brothers to spend some time together and get to know each other. So it's the study of their relationship and what happens to them on this vacation, and the way their personalities diverge and then converge, and their preconceived notions about each other. Oh, it's just magical. And I absolutely loved it. 500 stars. Yeah, pick it up and read it. It's really short. You will absolutely love it. I read Iona Ryan by Lauren D. Bastian. It is self-published, and she's an indie author. I think it's really important to read indie authors. I think that you can find some real hidden gems. This was not so much a hidden gem. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't fabulous. I only gave it 2 stars because I thought a lot of it was cliche. I think it was very predictable. Insta-love, which I just kind of hate that. And some of the characters are aliens, and they speak English in a very formal, kind of stilted way. And they weren't consistent in the dialogue. I mean, the way she wrote the dialogue, it wasn't consistent, and I didn't like that. I hate it when writers break their own rules. So, yeah, I think, you know, I would have enjoyed it had it been better written, I think. But having said that, I think that this author is probably worth giving another try. So I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I didn't really think it was average. I thought it was a little below average, but yeah, hopefully her future writing will just continue to improve. I picked up How I Live Now by Meg Rozoff. I had started this on audio and I ended up finishing it on audio, and I really didn't crack the book at all, even though I have the book. I really liked this book a lot. This is a war story. It's very reminiscent of the World War II kind of novels that have been going on for decades, you know. It's all about a girl who goes to visit cousins in England and a war breaks out and bad things happen, and they're split up and she's got to survive. She does fall in love with her first cousin, and there is a serious relationship going on there, and that didn't bother me. I don't know why that is. I guess cousins don't bother me like brother and sister do. Yeah, that's flat out incest, and that's just creepy to me. Ugh, it's just wrong. But this didn't bother me so much. They're so different. They're from different countries, and you know, I don't know why. It just didn't bother me. I love Meg Rozoff's writing. I'm really surprised that I like it that much. So I'm going to have to read some other things that she's written because I really enjoyed that part of it. And I gave it 4 stars. If the whole, you know, cousins sleeping together kind of puts you off, beware. You probably shouldn't read this. But if you really like a good survival story and a war story, then you'll really like this. Then I picked up Clicks by Amy Evans. This again is another self-published author, and I liked this book. This is the first book in the Dolphin Prophecy series. The second book is out now, and I will probably pick it up. I did like it at least that well. I think part of the appeal for this for me was that it's all about surfing and the water and the ocean and things having to do with the ocean. I love that. I'm a water person. I need to live near a body of water, you know, like an ocean, a lake, a puddle, something. But I like the 2 protagonists. I think there was a little bit of insta-love, but she explained that by saying that the 2 people in it were promised to each other from the very beginning. Their parents expected them to get married. It had some interesting paranormal things going on. You know, and at one point I was reading it and I thought, oh, really? This is so, you know, this is kind of silly. So you have to suspend your disbelief. I mean, this is a serious case of doing that. That said, I mean, what mermaid book, what vampire book, what other kind of paranormal book are you going to read where you don't have to suspend your disbelief? This was kind of like when I watch a movie and then I get so involved in what's happening there on the screen, and then I look around to get some more popcorn and I'm immediately removed from that, you know? That's kind of how this was. So I gave it 3 stars, and I have high hopes for Amy Evans. I think she's a good author, and like I said, I'm going to read the sequel. And if you like anything having to do with the ocean and water and dolphins and that sort of thing, good book to pick up. And then the last 2 books I read were Sarah Dessen books. They were Keeping the Moon and Dreamland. I really liked Keeping the Moon. This is a coming-of-age story about a girl who is the daughter of a woman who is a fitness guru. So she's very famous. She's on TV. She's got a talk show. She's like all over the place. And this girl, she's 15. She was fat as a kid. And then when her mom got skinny, she also got skinny. And so now she's gorgeous, but she has no idea. She's kind of that fat girl trapped inside the thinner, newer girl. And so she goes to stay with an aunt for the summer while her mother tours Europe. And she's very withdrawn, kind of gone goth a little bit. And it's her coming out of that during the course of this summer with these people that made me laugh out loud. And I think that the reason I did that was because I know a lot of people like that in small southern towns or regular towns. This was set in North Carolina, and it had just a cast of characters that was absolutely hilarious. It also was pretty serious in that, it talked about, in subtle ways, as Sarah Dessen, I'm finding, has a way of doing, just the whole issues of, being bullied and coming to terms with your self-image and having some self-esteem. And it's really a delightful book. I think that if you are a Sarah Dessen fan, this is probably one of your favorites. But if not, this is a good one to pick up. If you like little YA coming-of-age stories, this is a good one. And it's not very long. So, yeah, I recommend that one. And I gave this one 4 stars. And then the last one I read was Dreamland by Sarah Dessen. And this was narrated on audio by Elizabeth Morton. Elizabeth Morton has been the narrator for the Testing series by Joelle Charbonneau. And I didn't like her voice for that character. And I really didn't love her voice for this character either. She has a good narrator's voice, but it's a very distinct voice, and it's very appropriate for certain kinds of books. And these two books were just not it. I don't know what else she's done, but I think she's a good narrator. She doesn't have a very wide array of voices that she gives to the various characters. Dreamland is about Caitlin. Caitlin is living in the shadow of her older sister, and virtually everyone around Caitlin is kind of focused on everything and everyone but Caitlin. So they're completely unaware when Caitlin starts to descend into being, her grades slip, and she's a cheerleader, but she stops being interested in that at school, and she gets involved with a guy who is dealing drugs, and things kind of go downhill. And it's got a lot of social messages in terms of abuse and paying attention to the people around you and what's going on with them. And, in light of recent, world events, I think that's really important. We really just need to keep an eye on people, keep an eye on each other, and check in and make sure we're doing okay. And that didn't happen in this book until the very end. And the end deals with Caitlin being in kind of a place where she got some help to deal with some of the things that had happened to her. And I think it was really good. It's a very dark novel in terms of Sarah Dessen. A lot of Sarah Dessen fans don't like this, or this is their least favorite of her novels. And I can see why, but I still think it was really good. It was one of those YA novels that it's kind of, it's important. It's like Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson or Winter Girls, and I'm sure there are other novels like it, where the stuff that it deals with them very well. Sarah Dessen is the master of subtlety. She is able to give you a picture of this character, but never really coming out and telling you who the character is. It's all got to do with the subtle feelings of the character and getting inside the character's brain and figuring it out that way. I highly recommend this. I gave it 4 stars, and I think it's worth a read, especially if you like Sarah Dessen. So that was my 7 in 7 readathon. I'm probably going to pick up more David Levithan as I find it. Some of the stuff he's written I know isn't for me, but other stuff is. So I think he's a brilliant writer. And I have several other indie published books that I want to pick up, so I'm really glad I'm doing that. I think maybe I'll try once a week to try and get an indie author slid in there if I can. So if you participated in this readathon, let me know. And did you meet your goals, your own personal goals? Were you able to get as many books read as you thought? Were you happy with what you read? Have you read any of these books? Because I'd love to know your thoughts about those as well. So let me know. And that's it for now from me. I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.
You're gonna miss me when I'm gone. You're gonna miss me by my walk. You're gonna miss me by my talk. Oh, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone.